Hello guys, welcome to the first of 5 sessions of 2.8 Finance, which is the role of money as a medium of exchange. So here we have all of the learning outcomes for 2.8 Finance. These are all of the things that you need to know on this section of the course. And so this lesson is going to focus on the first of these objectives to explain the role of money as a medium of exchange. So by the end of this lesson, and having done all the questions on this topic, you should be able to explain the role of money as a medium of exchange. So before we get into the topic, I've got a little task for you now. You need to think about how you might exchange goods and services if money didn't exist. So think about how you might exchange goods and services if money didn't exist. Press the pause button and then we'll come back. So hopefully you've had some ideas there. One idea that I would have expected you to have was a barter system where you swap goods and services between yourselves. For example, one of you might have an Xbox, another person might have a PlayStation, and so you might swap the Xbox for the PlayStation. That would be a barter situation. Another example is where a commodity, for example, cigarettes, might be used as a form of currency. So in the Second World War, soldiers used to use cigarettes as a means of payment. So you might buy something for 5 cigarettes or for 10 cigarettes. Anyway, they are some possible ideas. This little graphic here hopefully helps to explain why money is effective as a medium of exchange and why barter is less effective. So the person on the left says, I will sell you my phone for a new Xbox. The person in the middle says, I will sell you wheat for a new phone. And the person on the right says, I have rice to sell and I need a computer. So we have a single coincidence of wants between the person on the left and the person in the middle, but we don't have a double coincidence of wants. The person on the left is willing to sell a phone and the person on the right wants to buy a phone. So we have a single coincidence of wants. However, the person on the left wants to buy an Xbox, but the person in the middle doesn't have an Xbox to sell. They have wheat to sell. But the person on the left doesn't want to buy wheat. They want to buy an Xbox. So we have a single coincidence of wants, but not a double coincidence of wants. The person on the right doesn't have anything that either of the other two people want, and they don't have anything that the person on the right wants either. So in this situation, there will be no transactions taking place because we don't have a double coincidence of wants between any of those 3 individuals there. So the great thing about money is that money will allow these transactions to take place. So money increases the number of transactions, the number of purchases and sales that will be made. So it makes exchange much easier, and prices don't have to be renegotiated every transaction. So if you are selling phones, you have to try and decide, if you're selling your phone, how many phones are worth how many bushels of wheat, how many phones are worth how many computers, how many phones are worth how many Xboxes. It's very, very inefficient. Money gets around that problem. So hopefully you've understood that, and if not, you can click on the link to watch a short video explaining this just a little bit more. So without money, we would have to barter or swap goods and services when we want to buy and sell them, which means that under a barter system, we would be relying on a double coincidence of wants. We each must want what the other person has. So if I want to sell an Xbox and you want to sell a phone, that relies on me wanting your phone and you wanting my Xbox. So there is a double coincidence of wants. With money, we avoid double coincidence of wants. If I'm selling an Xbox, as long as you have money and I accept that money, then you can buy the Xbox off me. And the same situation with the phone. So we avoid the double coincidence of wants. And that means when we have money, the number of transactions, the number of sales and purchases is going to go up hugely. Money makes exchange much easier and much more efficient because we're not relying on this double coincidence of wants with money. So the number of transactions goes up, makes exchange much easier, and also prices don't have to be renegotiated every time we want to buy and sell something. So if we have a common means of expressing prices, then we don't have to decide how many Xboxes are worth a phone, how many phones are worth how many bushels of wheat, and so on, which we would have to have under a barter system. So money makes things much, much more efficient. So having looked at the role of money as a medium of exchange, we can now think about giving a definition of money. What is money? So money is anything that is generally accepted as a means of payment for goods and services. That word generally is very important. You know, you might sell your Xbox to your friend and sell it in exchange for PlayStation. And in that situation, Xboxes and PlayStations are being used as a means of payment. But that doesn't mean that Xboxes and PlayStations count as money, because that's one very specific transaction between two individuals. It's a one-off specific transaction. It's not a general acceptance. You know, you can't use Xboxes and PlayStations generally as a means of payment. Similarly, another specific situation, which I alluded to earlier, were soldiers using cigarettes as a form of currency during the Second World War. Again, that's a specific situation between very specific individuals. So money is anything that is generally accepted. That word generally is very important. So as far as we are concerned as economists, money is notes and coins in circulation and all the money we have in bank and building societies. So money is any notes and coins, any cash that we have in our pockets, plus any money that we have deposited in our banks and building societies. So it's also important to realize that checks, debit cards, and credit cards are not money. So, for example, if you go into Primark and buy some clothes with your credit card, then or your debit card, you probably don't have a credit card at your age, but you might have a debit card, or you will get a debit card very soon if you don't have one already. So you pay for clothes on your debit card. The debit card is simply a way of transferring money from your bank account into Primark's bank account. So although you may think that the debit card is the means of payment, actually it's not. It's simply a way of getting the money in your bank account to Primark's bank account. It's the money in your bank account that is actually the money. The debit card itself is not money. So that leads us quite nicely into the distinction between credit cards and debit cards. Although, as we just said, these are not money, there is a section on credit cards and debit cards in the OCR GCSE textbook, so I'm going to run through this with you very briefly. So if we take debit cards, first of all, when you use a debit card, as we just explained, money is taken directly from your current account, your bank account, when you buy goods and services. So you go to Primark and buy your clothes on your debit card, then the money is taken directly from your current account. And sometimes, for example, if you have mobile banking, then the money will be taken immediately. So you'll immediately find that if you've, say, spent £30 on clothes, then your bank balance is immediately £30 less than it was before you bought those clothes. Primark, the seller, is not charged for allowing you to use it. So as far as the seller is concerned, it's no different really to if you paid cash, in the sense that there's no extra payment, there's no extra charge for Primark when you use your debit card. The money goes straight into their bank account. You are not charged interest when you pay money on your debit card, from your debit card, unless you go overdrawn. So if you go overdrawn, what that means is that you have spent more money than you actually have in your account. So if you have £100 in your account and then you spend £30 on your debit card, you've still got £70 left over, and so you are not charged any interest. However, if you've only got £20 in your bank account and you spend £30 on clothes, that means you are £10 overdrawn and you will be charged interest by your bank in that situation. And the overdraft interest rates are usually quite high unless you have arranged with the bank that you are allowed to have an overdraft. And finally, if the item is damaged or misrepresented, you don't generally have the same level of cover as a credit card would provide. So if something you've bought is damaged or misrepresented, you might be able to claim for compensation. You might be able to claim for a refund, but you can't necessarily do that. And with a credit card, you can. You're protected under something called Section 75 of the Consumer Credit Act. That last point there is kind of extension material. So if you're not too sure about that, it's not quite as important as the first 3 points there. So if we now take a credit card, we'll see that it's pretty much the opposite case to a debit card. So with a credit card, money is not taken from your current account. You're borrowing the money from your credit card provider. So if you have a Barclay card and you pay for your clothes on your Barclay card, credit card, then you are borrowing that £30 from Barclays Bank. So that's a little bit like a short-term loan. You're borrowing the money. It's not your money. It's not taken from your current account. In contrast to a debit card, sellers are charged for allowing you to use it, unlike a debit card, and you are charged interest on the money borrowed. So if you don't pay back what you've borrowed on your credit card within, it's up to 30 days, then you will be charged interest on the money borrowed. Although it is important to realize that credit card interest rates tend not to be as high as interest rates on overdrafts on your current account, which means if you are going to borrow, it can be worth borrowing on your credit card rather than going overdrawn on your current account, because the interest rates on credit cards tend to be quite a bit lower than the interest charged on overdrafts with your current account. And finally, as we just said, if the item is damaged or misrepresented, you are protected under Section 75 of the Consumer Credit Act, which means if you buy something that is damaged or misrepresented and the company you've bought it from doesn't pay you back, say you buy a watch and you don't, you think that it's misrepresented or damaged, and the jewelers does not pay you the money back, then the credit card company will do so under Section 75. Again, that is extension material, that final row of the table. It's the first 3 that you should really be interested in. Okay, so this is the summary of the key points that you need to know. I'm not going to read through them. You can just press the pause button and check that you have absorbed those key points. Once you've done so, have a go at the questions and make sure that you write the answers to the questions in the back of your books. Remember, it's the back of the books where the answers to the questions go. The notes go in the front of books. And once you're happy with lesson 1, then you can move on to lesson 2, and I will see you for lesson 2.